everyone. Welcome back to Presley Mania. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Rhonda, and I really am excited that you are here. For those of you who follow my show on a regular basis, you know that I have promised for quite some time that I was going to go back and reread Elvis's deposition from his divorce with Priscilla. Quite some time ago, a good friend of mine, Darby Shaw, aka Kimberly Hutchison, and I did a show. She put all the graphics together and we went over the divorce of Elvis and Priscilla from beginning to end. So she also provided me with all of the documents. So credit to her. I miss her greatly. And so I want to give all credit for this show to her. So what I wanted to do, because Priscilla is so in the news, and thank you to everybody who has watched my last video. I appreciate it so much, the one with Amy and I. We will be doing another one this week, and I'm hopeful tomorrow or Thursday that we will get that out to you. But I wanted to go through this deposition again before we did that show, and let me tell you why. There is so much in here. It explains a lot of the things that she is saying. It puts together how her actions have not changed over the years. And there are also so many interviews that she is doing right now. I saw one this morning, a reel of it, and I think it was done on Newsmax, and she's wearing this black and white striped shirt, and she's talking to this guy, this interviewer. And she said that her leaving Elvis basically took him by surprise. Well, according to this deposition, her leaving may have took him by surprise, but he certainly knew about what was going on with her and Mike Stone. And these are Elvis's own words. And I'm going to get into it really fast because I want you guys to have this information before I do my next show with Amy and we go over more things. Okay, this is dated, I believe it's, well, I'm going to have to flip all the way to the back to see what the date is on this. June 1973 is when Elvis did this deposition. It's really telling. I, Elvis Aaron Presley, declare, I am the petitioner in the above matter. This declaration is made in opposition to the motion of respondent, hereinafter referred to as Mrs. Presley, for an order vacating the default entered in these proceedings based upon the conclusive reason, among others, that at all times since the filing of the petition for dissolution and the entry of default against her, Priscilla Ann Presley was fully aware of the proceedings for dissolution of the marriage. At all times, she has urged and encouraged that the marriage dissolution proceedings proceed to a conclusion. I therefore direct myself to her declaration dated May 25th, 1973. Item 2. Mrs. Presley states that she permitted her default to be entered because she had signed a property settlement agreement and a spousal support agreement, which she was told at the time were fair. Okay, Priscilla let a default judgment, let a judgment go into default because she was going back after Elvis to get more money. So just to make a little bit of clarification on that. To my knowledge, the reason petitioner permitted the default to be entered was her announced intention to me as early as Christmas 1971 that she wanted her freedom. I had already heard about her relationship with one Mike Stone, and I asked her about Mike Stone several months later. In February 1972, he confronted her with it. She expressed surprise that I had known her relationship with Mike Stone and her desire to have a separation and her freedom. So I don't think Elvis was taken by surprise, despite what she says. The filing of a petition for dissolution and the taking of her default was pursuant to the procedure that was outlined to be followed by Mr. Ed Hookstratton, my attorney, to which Mrs. Presley readily agreed. Throughout the period since the filing of the petition for dissolution and the entry of default, the respondent has never at any time complained that the filing of the petition for dissolution or the entry of the default was procured by any mistake, inadvertence, surprise, or excusable neglect upon her part or her attorney. When Mrs. Presley states that she did not know the nature or value of the assets owned by me, nor that she was entitled to half of them, Declaration of Priscilla and Presley, May 25th, 1971, page 1, lines 11 through 13, she is not stating the basic truth or facts. My wife lived with my family before marriage. She knew of my earnings. She signed my tax returns. My wife knew that a substantial part of my assets were acquired before and after marriage, during which time I have been domiciled exclusively in the state of Tennessee. The community property system does not exist in Tennessee. My wife was fully aware of the fact that at all times I regarded my home in Memphis as my domicile and principal place of business, even though we maintain residences elsewhere, including California. She knew, and the fact is, that except for my professional engagements, the principal part of my time when not working was spent in my home in Memphis, Tennessee, on Elvis Presley Boulevard, a street named after me. I love how he threw that in. And where I have spent most of my life. Not only did I maintain my principal residence in Memphis, Tennessee, my personal manager is a resident therein, my father, Vernon Presley, and my business advisor resides in Memphis, Tennessee. My accountants are located in Memphis, Tennessee. My regular attorney's office is in Memphis, Tennessee. We have filed every tax return in Memphis, Tennessee. My voter's registration is in Memphis, Tennessee. My automobiles, with the exception of ones driven by Mrs. Presley since separation, are registered in Tennessee. Most of my personal friends, business acquaintances are located and residents in Tennessee. Notwithstanding the foregoing, when I came to California or near California, example Las Vegas, Tahoe, for professional reasons, example movie or personal appearance tours, etc., my wife had requested that we have a home in California. Therefore, on each occasion when we purchased a home in California, including at 1174 Hillcrest Road, Beverly Hills, California, later at 144 Monteville Drive, Los Angeles, California, including a family residence at 845 Chino Canyon Road, Palm Springs, California, Mrs. Presley participated in the choice and the purchase thereof. She was fully aware of the cost and value thereof, and we purchased these homes in joint names. It is therefore untrue that Mrs. Presley was unaware of the nature or extent of my assets or income. She was also advised of her rights by Mr. Hookstratton and later by Mr. Brock. Because Priscilla was asked if she knew the value of them, and she was like, no, I didn't know. That's what she states in one of the documents here, that she didn't know. Well, after Elvis's deposition, Priscilla got questioned again. And it says, here we go. In addition to Priscilla Ann Presley's knowledge of her husband's singing and movie career, she was fully familiar with the purchase of homes in California and their value. In answer to questions on the subject of homes purchased in California, the following questions were asked and answers given. Okay, so they went back because of her original statement that she had no idea how much things were. They went back and they questioned her because she was suing Elvis for more money, and it says, the question, "It is true, isn't it, that you did work or participate with him in the purchase of the homes in California?" Her answer was yes. "You knew what they cost, didn't you?" Her answer was yes. So she just outright lied before this. And Elvis called her on the carpet. Okay, number 4. At the time, Mrs. Presley and I separated in December 1971, and subsequently in February 1972. I did not know, nor was I requested to advise my wife that she was entitled to half of my assets. I could not conceive that this was either a fact or law, since my wife, during marriage and separation, had repeatedly stated to me that she did not wish to have any part or portion of my earnings and accumulations, either prior to or subsequent to marriage. And I had always assumed, as a domiciliary of Tennessee, that they were my separate property. Between February and July 1972, I was hopeful that perhaps a reconciliation could be achieved as between Mrs. Presley and myself. When it appeared that my wife was determined to get an immediate divorce and her freedom, on my own initiative, I discussed with her during a period in mid-July 1972 the prospects of seeking a final settlement. I asked my wife what she wanted. She told me that she wanted nothing, that she simply wanted her freedom, that she knew the type of person I was, and fully trusted her to provide me for the reasonable needs of herself and my daughter at all times. She stated to me on the occasion of our conference in July 1972 that she wanted nothing, that she did not want any part of my property, and said further, I know what I can do and can't do. She stated that she did not want any of my accumulations, earnings, royalties, residuals, publishing rights, etc., but just wanted to live comfortably without worrying about it. Notwithstanding my wife's position, I told her that I thought she ought to be paid a cash settlement, and I suggested, without consultation with anyone, including any attorney or any person, a cash sum of $100,000. And remember, this is 73, so that would be worth a whole lot more money today. She was very happy and satisfied. My wife did not want to have or receive in distribution any of the homes we own jointly or the furniture acquired. On the contrary, she stated that she intended to move into my apartment, that she intended to move into an apartment in Marina Del Rey, the one that she shared with Mike Stone, and asked that I pay for the furnishings. I readily agreed. I therefore suggested that I pay her $100,000 in cash settlement, provide her with 2 automobiles of her choosing, and also pay for the furnishings of her apartment. She told me that she was entirely satisfied with such an agreement as being fair, and stated to me her confidence and trust that I would always do right by her. In the meetings with myself and Mrs. Presley in July 1972, and on the occasions when we met with my attorney, Ed Hookstratton, in July 1972, Mr. Hookstratton and I asked Mrs. Presley to make out a list of her needed monthly expenses of herself and our daughter Lisa. The amounts were discussed with Mr. Hookstratton, and I readily agreed to her request of $1,000 a month for spousal support and $500 child support. At the time, Mr. Hookstratton explained to both Mrs. Presley and myself the procedures regarding dissolution in California, including that we could obtain a quiet, no-fault divorce based in irreconcilable differences. She was advised that in order to assure her privacy, okay, and this is where some of the confusion has come in about her using the Presley name. So listen to this, y'all. She was advised that in order to assure her privacy and safety of our daughter, that she would assume the use of her maiden name, Beaulieu, and that if I filed for dissolution of our marriage, her true name and address would not be disclosed in public. She agreed thereto and understood that I would file and obtain the decree the decree of dissolution of marriage. Okay, that's where it comes in, where people are saying that she wasn't supposed to use the name Presley. That was just, he's not asking her to not use the name. Would he have preferred that she didn't? Probably. But this was all just to protect Lisa, and so people wouldn't know who she was living in this apartment with Mike Stone. I got to throw that back in there. But in the actual divorce decree, it is never mentioned, not one time, that she cannot use the name Presley. In reviewing the California procedures with her, Mr. Hookstratton again asked whether she didn't want to reconsider the question of her marriage and the settlement, thinking of possible reconciliation. In our presence, she stated that she didn't want anything beyond the $100,000 I agreed to pay her. The combined support of $1,500 per month for spousal and child support, and stated that she had too much pride and didn't want more. Well, she swallowed that pride really fast when she decided to sue Elvis for more. And also put a lien on Graceland to ensure that she got her money. She also stated that she did not want to live at her Monteville home, nor want the home and furnishings, but that if she lived in a smaller place in the marina, and if I furnished such apartment for her, she would be entirely satisfied. The property settlement agreement and marital termination agreements were later prepared and signed by Mrs. Presley and myself on August 15th, 1972. Mrs. Presley, listen to this, went to Hawaii with Mike Stone. At all times, I had believed that there was a possibility for us to reconcile and continue our marriage. But in the latter part of 1972, according to my best recollection, when Mrs. Presley was in Hawaii with Mike Stone, she called me by phone to advise that she had had a quarrel with him. She then told me that she might want to come back to me. I told her, and I cautioned her, that she should not take that for granted. He didn't want her back. Despite what she says, despite all of the, oh, but maybe when I was 40 and he was 50, maybe we would, we talked about getting back together and all of that mess. No, this dispels it all right here. I told her and I cautioned her that she should not take that for granted. Since then, it is clear that neither Mrs. Presley nor I anticipate nor desire a reconciliation. Both of us concede that irreconcilable differences have resulted in an irreconcilable breakdown in our marriage. Recognizing that the marriage dissolution proceedings would go forward, at no time did Mrs. Presley ask for anything beyond which I had agreed to pay. She never complained that she got an unfair agreement. In or about December 1972 or January 1973, as a gesture of generosity and friendship, I sent her a brand new Jaguar X16, for which she thanked me. Do tell. Late December 1972 or January 1973, she told me that she was going to have her younger sister live with her and that she was going to seek assistance from me to furnish her a new apartment wherein she intended to move. In addition to the $50,000 paid her on account of the property settlement, the XJ6 automobile given to her, I estimate that I have paid directly or to her for or on account of the furnishing of her apartments in excess of $40,000. That's above and beyond what they agreed on. She's moving again, and she wants him to furnish her another apartment because I guess what she had for the first apartment wasn't good enough and that she didn't want to keep those things. She wanted all new stuff. Wow. Even as late as several weeks ago in May 1973, after Mrs. Presley had employed her present counsel, she talked to me by telephone, and at that time I asked her what she wanted. Mrs. Presley told me that she did not know. How many times have we heard that? I asked her whether she had spent the 50,000 that I had given her, and she did not give me a direct answer. I asked her why she had hired an attorney at this time, and she said she needed more money. Again, she urged, I do not want to take you. I want only to know that I can live comfortably. In none of these conversations did Mrs. Presley advise me that she was imposed upon, defrauded, dissatisfied, or that any proceedings undertaken to seek a dissolution of the marriage were procured by mistake, inadvertence, surprise, or excusable neglect, and my wife affirmed that a divorce should ensue. It is clear that the legitimate objects of our marriage have ceased to exist. Mrs. Presley has not disagreed with this contention and confirms that she wishes a divorce. I am ready and willing to fulfill each and all of the executory terms of the agreements, both with respect to property settlement and the termination agreement, and otherwise to do equity. Mrs. Presley seeks more money, and in trying to achieve this result, she seeks to vacate or set aside our agreements and legal proceedings. I am unable to present any opinion in respect to the merit of my wife's legal position. I must rely upon my attorneys to present and argue our factual position and the legal consequences thereof. Okay, those are Elvis's own words. So he dispels completely that he wanted her back. He dispels that there was a chance of them getting back together. He said no, that it wasn't. She didn't want it. He didn't want it. And let's not forget the fact that he had already moved on by this point. He was with Linda Thompson. Priscilla was with Mike Stone. Or whoever. Because she seemed to have several different male interests. And Elvis, we know Elvis. We know. We've gone through that he and Linda, I think, were pretty much exclusive during this time, but Elvis was known to have dalliances, and so, I'm not excusing that. But I am saying that there was no reconciliation on the table. And also to point out that Priscilla has lied on many occasions, and this is as early as when she was seeking a divorce, and she and Elvis were trying to separate things. So it's a constant story. And now she is giving us this fairy tale that, they might have gotten back together, and that he was the love of her life, and all of these things. No, that she left him softly. Well, if she'd have left him softly, I would say that could have applied if she would have left things alone and not sued him again, took him back to court and said, okay, but I want all of this stuff. And it never ended. This happened throughout, from the time they were legally divorced until the day Elvis left us. It never stopped. She was always asking for things. She asked for money for her dad to open up a vineyard. She was constantly asking if she could use the plane. Could she have money for this? Could she have money for that? And then to ensure that she got the payments that Elvis promised her in the divorce, she put a lien on Graceland. Because I guess she was afraid she wasn't going to get her money. Really? Do you think that didn't put pressure on Elvis? Do you think that wasn't hard on him? Amid all the health problems, everything else he was going through. You think that it was easy for him to deal with all this? No, it wasn't. I will never believe he wanted Priscilla back. Do I think maybe they were friends? Yeah, but I'm the more I hear, the more I learn. I think that he tried to keep things civil and tried to remain friends with them for one reason and one reason only. Lisa Marie. Everything he did, giving Priscilla all of this stuff, not causing a big to do over the divorce. I think he just wanted it done. He wanted it to be finished, and he thought if he gave her everything she wanted, that it would be okay. And he would be, she could move on with her life, he could move on with his, but it would also keep things good between him and her so that he could have Lisa. Maybe not on a permanent basis, that's not what I mean, but that their relationship wouldn't be messed up. Because arguments, when you have separations like that and you have a divorce and you're one parent saying bad things about the other, that's hard on a child. And I don't think Elvis ever wanted that for her. But I wanted to go over this because we will be doing another show here, hopefully, like I said, tomorrow or Thursday, and going over more of this book. And it is important that you guys have some more background and that you know exactly what she did. I know some of you have already seen that show I did a year or so ago, but it may be longer than that now. My goodness, time just gets away from me so fast. But I wanted to go over this again. It never hurts to have a little refresher, does it? It certainly doesn't for me. The older I get, the more I need to go over things because they don't always stay in my memory bank like they used to. So anyway, this is all I have for today. Until next time, y'all remember, you only get one shot at this life, so live each day to the fullest because you never know what tomorrow's going to bring. See you all next time. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.